It was a sunny Thursday afternoon in early May 2005 in a quiet, middle-class neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri. School had just let out, and 13-year-old Caleb Jennings was last seen walking out of Jefferson Middle School, backpack slung over one shoulder, headed in the direction of home like he always did. But that day, he never made it. For 2 decades, Caleb's disappearance became one of the most haunting cold cases in Missouri, a story riddled with dead ends, theories, and grief. Until one day, a school janitor doing renovations in an old maintenance closet stumbled across something that would not only solve the mystery, but unravel a truth no one ever saw coming. This is the story of the boy who vanished after school, and the secret that lived within those school walls for 20 years. But before we dive into the details of the story, kindly drop in the comment section the location you are watching from, and push the subscription button for notification on captivating and interesting stories on Chase Narration. Now let's continue with the story. Caleb was the kind of kid teachers remembered for his quietness. He wasn't particularly popular, nor was he a loner. He fit somewhere in that large gray area in the middle, a polite, observant, sweet boy who mostly kept to himself. He lived with his mother, Dana Jennings, a single parent working 2 jobs to keep things afloat. On that Thursday, Caleb had lunch with his usual friends, Devin, Mike, and Tanya. They joked about a pop quiz in science class and who might be picked for the spring talent show. At 2:53 p.m., school cameras recorded him leaving the building through the side exit near the gym, the last confirmed sighting of Caleb Jennings alive. He never made it home. When Dana returned from her afternoon shift and found the house empty, she initially assumed he was at a friend's place. By 8 p.m., she was calling the police. The disappearance triggered a citywide search. Volunteers, bloodhounds, helicopters, they combed woods, alleys, nearby rivers. But no trace of Caleb was ever found. Police questioned students, teachers, and staff. The principal claimed all after-school activities were cancelled that day due to teacher conferences. No one remembered seeing Caleb with anyone unusual. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said he was abducted by a stranger, others believed he ran away. But the people who knew Caleb insisted he would never just vanish. He loved his mom. He loved school. And he was terrified of getting in trouble. By year's end, the media had moved on. But Dana never did. Dana turned into her own detective. She gathered flyers, started forums, contacted psychics, and showed up at the police station every month for years. She even had a wall in her living room, a collage of photos, maps, sticky notes, and timelines. Friends began pulling away. Employers grew impatient. But Dana didn't care. Her only job now was to find her son. She was convinced the answer lay somewhere at Jefferson Middle School. Over the years, Jefferson Middle became almost mythical in town. Students whispered about its locked doors, its strange staff, its hidden places. One former student came forward anonymously to say that a certain teacher, Mr. Logan, had a habit of keeping students after school for quiet conversations. But Logan had died of a heart attack in 2011, and no formal complaints had ever been filed. Still, there was something about that school, something Dana couldn't let go of. But there was no evidence, and the administration refused to cooperate after the 5th year of inquiries. By 2015, Caleb's case had officially gone cold. Detectives retired, evidence was boxed away, and even the reward money went untouched. Dana grew quieter. She moved to a smaller apartment but kept her wall of evidence. She started writing letters to Caleb, keeping a journal, hoping one day he'd return and read them. And then, in March of 2025, something happened. Before we continue, take a second to push the subscription button for notifications if you find our stories interesting. Now, let's continue. Walter Briggs had been working at Jefferson Middle for only 3 months. A retired Army mechanic turned school custodian, he was known for being meticulous and curious. During a renovation project on the East Wing, Walter was assigned to clear out an old storage closet near the gym, one that had been nailed shut and marked out of service for over a decade. What he found inside would finally unearth the truth. It was dark and musty. Piles of broken chairs, old science fair projects, and boxes of textbooks cluttered the room. But it wasn't until Walter tried to move a shelving unit bolted to the floor that he noticed something odd. The floor beneath it felt hollow. With permission from the principal, a crew was brought in to inspect. Underneath the closet floor was a crawlspace, and inside, wrapped in an old Jefferson gym mat, were human remains. Dental records confirmed what Dana Jennings had feared for 20 years. It was Caleb. The discovery reopened the investigation. This time, with DNA, new technology, and pressure from national media. They found Caleb's backpack, crushed and decayed, stuffed behind a panel in the wall. Inside it was a blood-stained notebook. The journal entries detailed bullying, not just from students, but subtle, calculated abuse from a teacher, Mr. Logan. Emotional manipulation. Threats. One line read, "If I say anything, he says I'll disappear like the others." There were other names scribbled in the margins. Former students who had transferred suddenly. One had attempted suicide in college. It appeared Mr. Logan had been running a silent reign of fear, hidden in plain sight. Further digging revealed complaints that had been buried. Staff who moved on quietly. A former assistant principal who admitted in an interview that Logan had a way of making things go away. No one had wanted to believe a teacher could be capable of that kind of evil. And by the time the truth came to light, Logan had long been dead. There would be no trial. At Caleb's memorial, held 20 years to the day of his disappearance, Dana read from her journal. It was a letter she had written to him every year on that date. "You were more than a missing poster. More than a file in a cabinet. You were light. You were mine. And I never stopped looking because I always knew, you were still in that school. Somehow. Somewhere. And now I can finally say goodbye." The town mourned. The school was eventually shut down. A new foundation was started in Caleb's name to protect children and advocate for accountability in schools. Walter Briggs was honored by the mayor for his curiosity and compassion. He never considered himself a hero. He just couldn't ignore that something about that closet didn't feel right. Sometimes the truth doesn't come in the form of a grand confession or a cinematic breakthrough. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the scraping of a janitor's broom, in the dusty air of a forgotten closet, in a notebook no one was supposed to read. Caleb Jennings vanished after school one day. But in the end, the truth didn't vanish with him. It was just waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this episode of Chase Narrations, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue to share impactful and meaningful content.